my question here is, what it seemed like, at least nung time na yon, right? You were pushing for VADA after the fight was announced. So the way it looked like kasi, you were making demands after the fight seemingly was already signed. Kasi na-announce na. So
Oh.
parang, ang dating, at least to me, to be fair, to be objective, ang dating sa akin, you were making demands after the fight was announced, after contracts were signed, which was supposed to be done sa negotiating table. Because meron din tayong tinatawag sa boxing na step aside no? And you being a boxer, and of course, you and Rachel knows this business side of boxing more than any one of us here on the panel and sa mga nanonood. I actually asked Gabalio before. I'm not sure if you have seen the interview. I asked him, would you be willing to step aside, just to let the historic fight between Nonito Donaire and Casimero to actually take place? Now, I know he is the mandatory, but is there still room for that na maybe we can, the camps or whoever, the promoter can give him a step aside fee in order for you to make the fight with John Riel Casimero happen?
Definitely a possibility, pero kailangan nilang gagawin na yun kasi we know na may issue sila sa kampo nila between their promotion or management. So kailangan nila i-resolve yung issue and hope na nagtitraining pa rin siya. So yun lang. I think that's the biggest key, is that anything is possible as long as okay na yung dalawang kampo.
Nice. Champ, hindi naman sa hina-hype ko yung mga nanonood sa atin tonight, no? Pero I guess just the fact na sinabi mong there's a possibility, I would actually say that is still good news. All hope is not lost. Kasi ang daming Pilipino, ang daming fight fans, they actually see this as a huge historic all-Filipino unification between, the two of you. And, ang daming nangyari in between. So, again, if this fight can still be made, then that's good. That's good for boxing. That's good for the fans, because I think that's the fans, that's the fight that the fans would want to see. Now, I would actually let Jason ask some few more questions from you, because I'm sure he has questions too. But Champ, I would have to press a little, okay? Because the topic here is Raymart Gabalio ready for Nonito Donaire. Now, I know you've seen just little clips, highlights here and there. But for you, do you think he now deserves to challenge you for the world title? Do you feel that he is ready for this world caliber kind of fight?
Kung ano man yung perspective ng tao, natalo man siya o nanalo siya sa mga mata nila, I think na he's still a world ranked na fighter, no? So anybody who's a world ranked fighter is deserving naman for to fight a world champion, especially in the top 10. So I see na he's capable of it at kahit again sa mga mata ng mga tao, natalo man siya or manalo, he still fought a former world champion and didn't get knocked out. So I think na he's still in that limelight of na pwede pa rin siyang lumaban ng world champion.
I see. Okay. Champ, may kasama din tayo another member of the media. Actually, this guy writes for Top Gear, but he also covers fight sports. Jason Tulio, if I may introduce him. Jason, I'm sure you have questions for our Champ Nonito. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, JM. All right, Champ. Now, you mentioned that you don't do the mental and stylistic prep until the contract is signed. Now, as we all know, there was a brief window where you were set to fight Casimero until all the fallout and everything else happened. So, I'm guessing at some point you did the stylistic and the mental preparation. So stylistically, how do you see your style matching up with Casimero's?
I think that his style is made for mine because mabilis yung suntok ko at nakikita ko yung opening palagi before. And as you can see, the reason hindi siya makakat ng ring because he has a couple seconds before he throws the power punch. So kaya nga hindi niya nakakatch si Regan daw. Because may pause bago itapon yung mga suntok niya. But again, anything can happen sa laban. For me, I'm confident ako sa sarili ko, at anything can happen in there. But from the way my style is, I feel na it's made for the type of style na parang nakikita mo yung suntok before tinapon yung suntok.
Okay, now during the time this fight was signed, there was a lot of trash talk. We all saw what happened with that. So now that the fight was called off, if the fight gets signed again, do you think that whether it's for show or he really means it, do you think you'll deal with Casimero's trash talk a little differently this time?
I think it was just more than trash talk that went beyond that. There's a lot of things that I can't disclose on here na bakit hindi nangyari yung laban, at kaya nga yung trash talk ay nagiging excuse bakit hindi natuloy yung laban. But we were ready for this time. Nakasign ako ng kontrata, but obviously may issue yung camp nila at hindi nabigyan ng kontrata to sign the fight. But again, I think na magiging possibilidad yan after the fight of our mandatory, as long as we both win.
Champ Nonito, first of all, again, I want to thank you for actually joining this episode, of our podcast. So, kasi, guys, sorry, this is just a bit of a surprise that Champ Nonito came along. And honestly, kami ni Jason, we were not prepared. So, okay lang ba, Champ Nonito, na ibalik natin yung what happened between the Casimero, the entire Bruja thing? Because I want to get your blessing first as a professional courtesy.
Sige. I'm
Okay
always
lang, okay.
open to think, but there's gonna be some undisclosed na hindi ko mai-share because of what's going on. And
Okay.
yeah, so yeah.
That's fair. Before I get to that, Cham Donito, ito may maganda yung tanong ni Engineer JRM. Malapit na first bid ng Casimero Butler, mukhang malabo pa ang Donaire Casimero. You actually talk about giving Raymond Gabalio possibly a step aside fee for this to happen. So kapag ganito ba, Champ, ang mangyayari, Casimero also has to pay Butler? Tig-isa ba kayo nun? Ganun po ba ang ano doon?
Kailangan din po yun kasi siya rin yung magiging mandatory. So he's the mandatory. Kaya nga they're going to the first bid, and that's why he has to settle down yung mga ano man yung problema nila, because malaking chance na pag walang reply, he most likely na will be fined, and or siya yung magiging step aside for his belt. So there's a possibility of that kasi kaya nga kailangan nilang gagawin yung kailangan nila.
I see. Guys, sa mga comment sections, if you actually have questions for Cham Nonito Donaire, go ahead. We will ask your questions kay Cham Donaire. But please, guys, please be respectful here. Chill lang tayo dito, okay? We can talk about everything about boxing, pero chill lang, okay? Okay, here's my question, Cham Nonito, regarding dun sa laban na yun ni Casimero. And this is something that I've been wanting to ask you. Actually, I've tried to contact Rachel din a few times. Kasi what happened was before, when it fell out, nag-demand kayo kasi ng VADA testing, right?
Yes.
Pero the way it looked to me, right, to the fans, as if the fight was already announced, no? When you actually ask for the VADA testing. Now, the way I see it, the way I understand it, those are the things, if you want to make demands, and we understand that you are the A side, but if you actually want to make the demands in making a fight happen, I understand that it has to be done on the negotiating table. So my question is,
it was part
yeah,
of that. It was
right.
part naman for that. Kailangan yung VADA testing, and they already know lahat ng mga fights ko may VADA testing, from the WBSS to even before my VADA testing yung mga fights ko. At alam nila yun Alam nila yun na requirement ko yun. So it's just more of with all the things happening na, it's again, pag nandun kayo sa ring, your life is always on the line. I just want a fair playing field na wala tayong, there's no advantage, just ano lang talaga is to prove. I mean, it was a simple thing. It was just a simple thing, and kaya nga tinula ko ng gusto yun kasi I signed it the very first moment I had it. You know, bakit ang tagal niyo nakuha na sign yung kontrata or ganito ganyan. So it was just something for me na something in my head was just saying na this has to be done. Parang ganun.
Well, with credit to you, Cham Donito, no, if I'm not mistaken, you are one of the first, if not the first boxer to actually enroll sa year-round testing ng VADA, no? But I think, again, Chamba, I would just have to press this a little pa. Kasi my question here is, what it seemed like, at least nung time na yon, right? You were pushing for VADA after the fight was announced. So the way it looked like kasi, you were making demands after the fight seemingly was already signed. Kasi na-announce na. So parang, ang dating, at least to me, to be fair, to be objective, ang dating sa akin, you were making demands after the fight was announced, after contracts were signed, which was supposed to be done sa negotiating table. Maybe Rachel can also add something to this, Champ. No? But you can go ahead and answer first.
Yeah, she knows more of that kasi she's in the negotiation most of the time behind the scene. Ako lang yung pag sabi niya, labang ka sa ganitong date, okay, ready na ako. Parang ganun. So, you know, she can probably answer that for me.
Can you, JM, can you hear me? Pwede?
Yeah, Rachel. Yeah. Go ahead, Rachel.
Sorry, walang camera kasi I'm driving eh.
Yeah, take care. Ingat.
So let me just clear this. Sa contract, sa lahat ng contract, there is a clause na for random blood and medical testing. So that includes and isn't limited to anything that has to do with yung fight. So it's yung MRI, yung EKG, blah 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 blah. At random drug testing. It's in the contract now. So when I found out that after yung negotiation, wala pa yung VADA whereabouts, wala pa siya sa WBC. He was enrolled. That was very clear. He's been enrolled since 2016. Pero I have yung email from WBC that they couldn't find him. They couldn't contact him. That's yung responsibilidad ng manager niya or yung handler niya. So when I found out that it was being delayed, delayed pa, and yung VADA enrollment is on yung website nila. It's downloadable pa. Parang it was just, I won't go why they didn't want to just do yung paperwork eh. And that's why when we approached yung promoter ng laban, hoy, they're not doing what they were contracted to do, you know, like, and we kept pressing it. That's why they agreed, okay, well, apparently he's not going to do this for this fight. For some weird reason, for this fight, he didn't, you know, as it appeared to our side at yung side ni PGB PBC.
Okay.
He just wasn't going to do it. By the time he decided to put it in, then it was Rigondeaux was already put back in. We're not going to switch it back. But it's always in lahat ng contracts that's put in. It doesn't necessarily mean that just because we don't discuss it, like we don't negotiate it. That's not really a negotiation thing. The only thing that's possible to be a negotiation thing is yung start ng date ng VADA testing. Yun lang. If you see lahat ng boxers that are using VADA testing, some wanted 8 weeks lang, some wanted 12 weeks. And I believe that was something that was discussed for Caleb Plant and Canelo Alvarez. That's why they wanted, I believe Caleb wanted more testing, I think 10 weeks, at Canelo wanted shorter testing. And of course, the more time there is, the more expensive the test. Pero both camps finally came to an agreement that 10 weeks was okay. And that's why their fight's going through on November 6th.
I see.
So that's really like the key. For some weird reason, like that's the go back and forth. And I'm assuming it's because the more time means more money out of whoever's purse is going to be paying for it. Sometimes one fighter pays for the whole thing. Sometimes both fighters agree to pay for their own testing. And sometimes the promoter puts it on. Like the WBSS, WBSS, the promoter paid for every single boxer, even um, standby fighters. All of them were tested sa VADA 24/7, 365.
Okay. Rachel, I just need some clarification. Again, please feel free to educate us, educate me in regards to this matter. Kasi, like I said, nobody knows this better than you guys. You are, on the business side of boxing. So, in this case ba, since sabi mo, yung mga nasa kontrata, yung mga usual medicals, no? Yung mga usual na testing that fighters would have to go through before they fight. So, in this case, are you actually telling me that a VADA contract would be a separate contract pa from the fight itself?
It's not a VADA contract naman. It's a VADA enrollment.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying it's already built into the contract that this is required to go through the fight.
Okay. So, okay. Go ahead, guys. Sorry.
So, that's even if it's, let's say it's not VADA, even if it's WADA, or anything else like that, they still have to go into the program ng random drug and urine testing. So, with that being said, I can't pull up the contract right now because I'm driving, but I
It's
could
okay. It's
read
okay.
you when I park. I could read you the actual clause that like I said, it's mostly, it's all medicals. Like, you have to abide by lahat ng medicals, lahat ng testing, lahat. Even yung, di ba, when COVID hit, that wasn't built into the contracts because COVID wasn't here. And when they started testing fighters for COVID, that's a requirement because it's medical.
Correct. Okay. So what happened was not exactly the drug testing, but on that contract, the first that you guys, Nonito initially signed, part of the agreement was to actually for John Riel Casimero for a VADA enrollment. Tama ba?
I have to look if it's an actual VADA enrollment, but I know it was random drug and urine testing. It was spelled out because I went to go double check it, and then that's when I asked yung promoter bakit walang paperwork pa, bakit VADA hasn't started testing, or kahit anong organization, why haven't they started yung testing, and why can't they find him? And even like I said, even to WBC. Even if WBC Clean was going to be the one that was going to be initiating and putting out the testing, they couldn't because nobody knew where he was. They didn't have a contact number for him. They didn't know where to find him. Not even an email they didn't have. So I had to email WBC for MP Promotion Sean Gibbons' email and phone number contact, just so then they can talk, and that's not my responsibility, diba? So for me, I kept trying to make sure that all these rules and regulations were all followed, and wala, instead of just filling out yung paperwork that's downloadable, instead of talking to and discussing it with the promoters that maybe, I don't know, they were traveling or walang printer ink, then it just became personal and trash talking that had nothing to do with yung laban.
Okay. Jason, bro, I think you have a question. You have a question for Rachel?
Yes. Now, you mentioned that it's been a requirement of Nonitos for a long time, the VADA testing. Is this the most difficulty you guys have faced with regards to VADA testing? At least as it applies to other fighters?
Hindi. Si Rigondeaux, Rigondeaux, when we were gonna fight Rigondeaux, we were having problems getting him to enroll. I don't know why. I wasn't that strong in his management position then. I was still working with Cameron Duncan as co-manager, and he was talking to Top Rank. And we actually said we told them then because we hadn't accepted it. We said if he's not going to enroll, then we're not going to the press conference.
Yeah, it's similar to what just happened now. We actually called off the fight and gave them an ultimatum. Okay, we're done. You guys been playing around with this game for about a week and a half or two. So doon, it's what happened then and what happened now. It was so similar, but this time I didn't stand for that. Yung parang mga ganun. Kaya nga na-push yung laban. But during that time with Rigondeaux, when they did sign, it was already a little bit too late for anything else. But at that time, parang wala akong pakialam na ano. It was just
No,
fight.
but babe, we told them we weren't going to go to the press conference until it was put in,
Yeah.
and it was put in the day before yung press conference. Not the press conference sa fight week. Ha. This is the press conference before, like weeks before. We had to fly to New York and do
press
press
conference.
conference. Huh?
Okay.
Like a promotional press conference.
Yeah. Before the fight, not the week of. So we had time to say, we're not going to promote this fight. We're not going to do the fight.
No, but
And
we
then-
told them naman, diba? We told them that, we're not fighting. We're not fighting, diba? Sabi
Oh,
natin, we're not fighting.
yeah. But what I'm saying is it's not, I want to clarify, it's not the press conference a week the fight. It was the press conference way before when they wanted to announce the fight. Yeah.
They wanted,
And we said we're not gonna involve ourselves in that if the VADA paperwork is not gonna go through. And then the day before we were supposed to fly, that's when the paperwork got put in.
Okay. Guys, pardon my ignorance. This is, I've read a few contracts before, but of course, nothing to sa level ng mga kontrata yung mga elite boxers. I'm just wondering, and I'm not sure, maybe you have or maybe you have not. Kasi yung natatandaan ko yung laban ni Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, it was part of the contract then that there's going to be a random drug testing before they actually fight. So, hindi yung contract nyo ba that was different? Ibang klaseng contract pa yung sinasabi ni Rachel for you and Casimero? And if it was different, why can't we put up or draft a contract that would actually say na doon na rin mismo na there has to be random drug testing instead of just VADA enrollment? Kasi the way I see it, pag VADA enrollment, parang parang gray area siya Kasi, sige, mag-VADA enrollment ako, pero di mag-enroll ako after nung fight, di ba? Parang may gray area. At least to me, I have not seen the contract. But what's the difference if there was, is that something that you can do moving forward?
Go ahead, Ray.
Sorry. Could you shorten the question and repeat it? Because the boys were getting out of the car, so now they're out of the car. I'm okay now.
Yeah. I was just asking, kasi before, di ba, yung laban ni Manny Pacquiao at ni Floyd Mayweather, for what we know, at least from our perspective, na ang contract noon, there has to be random drug testing para matuloy yung laban. And I believe both fighters signed that contract. That's why it happened. So I want to know what was the difference between that contract and yung kontrata nyo initially kay John Riel. Kasi, Rachel, yung contract initially, sabi mo, supposedly VADA enrollment, parang gray area Diba? Parang kung titingnan mo, at least, again, guys, sa mga nanonood po sa atin, I'm just being objective here. Hindi ko po nakita yung kontrata. But if you are going to put in the contract na VADA enrollment, pwede niyang gawin yun even after the fight Not necessarily before the fight, no? Again, I have not seen the contract. So maybe what I'm asking is, can't we maybe apply yung mga naging terms or maybe borrow some terms yung naging contract between Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather and then maybe apply it sa contract nyo? And again, guys, I'm not sure if you've seen or if you know that contract either, to be objective here po.
No, yeah, that's what this is the first time that this has been an issue. Kasi usually when you sign the fight contract, yun na. Like, you have to do all your medicals, you're subjected to everything na. So this is the first time, like, parang he didn't put in the paperwork in the amount of time that should have been, the paperwork should have been put in. So now that we have experienced it ourselves, because we've always seen other camps that, diba, like, they're like, okay, I want 12 weeks of drug testing. So that's in their contract. This one, we didn't think that this would be such a big issue. So, because like, even with everybody else that we've ever fought, parang we never had to negotiate yung time, like when he was supposed to put it in. Because for us, like, they asked us for paperwork. Sige, here. Of course I review yung paperwork, and then we just give it in. There's rarely a delay in yung paperwork for us. So that was my mistake to assume that
Okay.
lahat ng camps work the way we do, diba?
I see.
And so that was just, it was a learning lesson, that we now have to put in yung how many weeks, at when, and how many weeks at when yung paperwork has to be submitted. So we have started doing that now.
I see. You know what, Rachel, after the things you've explained and you've said, actually, ang Jason, ang itatanong ko next kay Rachel, then maybe we can say na nagkaroon din ng lapse sa part ng Team Donaire. But Rachel already said na it was a mistake kasi parang in practice, ganun na nga yung nangyayari. But, there's a room for improvement. So, I don't think I have to ask that question to Rachel pa. And, it takes a lot of humility to actually, come out and say that, there's things that, that can be done or must be done moving forward. But Rachel, you being the manager of Nonito, I asked this question to Nonito earlier. We were talking about Raymart Gabalo possibly getting a step aside fee, stepping aside for a possible showdown between Nonito and John Riel Casimero. How about you? Sabi ni Champ, binigyan niya kami ng glimpse of hope that this historic all Filipino showdown can still happen. Sabi niya, possibly. All right. But you being, the person handling the contracts and his manager, is that, would you also use the word possibly or maybe even more na pwede pang matuloy ito?
For me, I'm gonna say there's less of a chance. It has nothing to do with yung step aside. It has nothing to do with how much they have to pay Gabayo. It really has to do with yung fight with MP promotion Sean Gibbons. We've seen, diba, with Nonito after yung Montiel fight under Top Rank, he was fighting with Bob Arum. Arum had him sit aside for 10 months. So for me, I've been hearing whispers sa Vegas that John Riel does not want to be under Sean Gibbons at MP Promotions, that they've sent that they're trying to do the legal route of going back and forth, and malabo yan. Malabo. It's your promoter can sit you. He can if you're not responding or being cooperative with yung what's supposed to be upholding your relationship together, things can happen where he's just not going to be, he's just not going to fight. So for me, because I've been hearing all those things, and with the video that Sean Gibbons put out, parang there really is bad blood between them.
Yeah.
How do they go forward from that and say, hey, I really don't like you, I don't want to work with you, but I need this fight.
Right.
Can you also pay for Gabayo to step down? So it's not even just a favor lang, like just let's put down our pride so I can fight lang. I also want you to be out of money to give it to another boxer that you also are handling. I know he's under Sandman, but I believe Sean Gibbons also represents as far as, like, I think just an advisory role lang with Raymart Gabayo. So you're putting him in a really awkward position because either way he's going to, I don't want to say screw, but he's going to put out one fighter from a fight. Who is that fighter going to be, talaga? And if you're already fighting with one fighter, are you going to give that fighter the chance? That's for you, from how I see it. It just, if you and your wife are supposed to go to a business dinner, but you're fighting, then is she still going to go with you? Probably not. So for me, I as much as I want to see the Casimero Nonito fight, I really, with the stuff that's going on with Yung promotion, is really really touchy and really sensitive to be doing at this stage in his career.
And even with on another channel, I'm not sure whose channel it was, we actually tried to advise his brother to work with his promotion if they want the fight to happen. So yun nag-usap kami doon on one of the channels na ito yung kailangan mong gawin para matuloy yung laban natin. Parang ganoon yung in-advise ko sa kanila na kung gusto niyo matuloy yung laban, itong gagawin niyo. Wag niyong awayin yung mga nagbibigay ng laban sa iyo. So that was the advice, and sabi nila na okay, we'll reach out to Sean ganito and work things out. But obviously that was not the case. Instead, they try to go around, and at least from what I'm hearing, they try to go around and do something different. So yun lang po yung nagaganap ngayon with their thing, is to just resolve their issues.
I see. The way I'm seeing it, or maybe we can say na perhaps kasi given nga to a small capacity, Gibbons also has a hand dun sa magiging fight or advisory, or I'm not sure what his role is with Team Gabalio. Is it perhaps, can we say na maybe there's no sense of urgency from Sean Gibbons to make this fight happen between you and Casimero? Because at the end of the day, if you get Gabalio, he's still getting the Donaire fight anyway.
I believe so. I believe na parang walang sense of urgency because alam mo naman yung mga lalaki, 'di ba? Ma-pride tayo, 'di ba? So I believe na he felt disrespected or whatever he's feeling, at saka parang hindi nila inayos yung conflict nila, and so there's no sense of urgency. But bigyan kita ng laban na hindi ka naman you're not working with me. Why would I give you the fight? 'Di ba? Parang ganoon, 'di ba? So he would rather na bigyan yung pagkakataon yung isa, which is the mandatory. But siguro pag nag okay yung sila dati, I think it would have been a step aside at that moment.
And you have to also remember that that Casimero, well, Sean Gibbons has to fix a lot of the things that Casimero or his brother did. Because when we were talking to him sa face off, we were telling him, you said this on your Facebook, and you said December 11th, Inoue, and we asked him, and parang he didn't know what we were talking about. And so when we talked to Jason, or when Jason was actually speaking with yung Nontayo brothers, sinabi niya that Jason was the one that posted, Bob Arum, send me a contract, I'll sign with your promotion to fight Inoue. Now, Jason, in yung best intention niya, was just trying to get yung attention ni Bob Arum at si Inoue to get to get the fight discussion starting to talk. Pero behind the scenes, you're making very big ripples in boxing, kasi that's a different promotion. You're signed to a different promotion. Parang you're telling them, I'm willing to breach my contract. And then, of course, si Arum, he's not going to talk to anybody from Team Casimero except Sean Gibbons, because he doesn't want to be in breach of contract. So there's a lot of mending that yung whatever Jason at John Riel did on social media, it created divides sa boxing community dito that Sean's gonna have to fix. So it's not just yung whatever their disagreement with is right now. It's the business aspect din that got destroyed.